Hey, today I want to talk about decentralization in a Catholic context. Decentralization is the idea of moving away from the city to find your own piece of property, to use that property to provide for yourself and your family, even if it's only in a limited context to start with, but eventually moving to an idea where, or a system where you can completely provide for yourself off the land. And I think this is a Catholic idea. Catholic teaching is property rights. Catholic teaching is to respect land, not in a Mother Earth kind of sense, but to use our resources wisely as God gave them to us, to keep it sustainable. You know, no matter what size of land you're on, you're using the resources in a sustainable way that you can continue to use those to provide an income for yourself, to produce food, maybe even to help others. But without raping the land like a capitalist kind of mentality would. That is not right. Centralization is kind of contrary to that in the sense where you kind of live in a city. You don't really have property, so to speak of. You might own a house and a tiny backyard or something like that, but it's not really enough that you can really do anything with it other than just live there, go to work, and consume. Living in a decentralized way allows you to produce for yourself rather than consume. I mean, you're going to consume regardless, but at least you're producing as well. I recently lost my job. Wasn't too sad about it. I worked with aging baby boomers that thought that success was measured in RRSPs and $500,000 motorhomes, Cadillacs, and the dollar sign, the almighty dollar sign. I remember one day being chastised at the lunchroom table because I've got 8 kids about how people like me are the problem in the world because, you know, we can't afford to feed all those people. We don't have enough land. And the guy that told me this, his favorite game, golf. Yeah, there's enough golf courses in North America to make up about 90,000 acres of land. Land that's irrigated, land that's got grass growing on it, land that you could turn into food production. Yeah. Fly around the world 5 times a year to go on your African safari and your Alaska cruise. Use more fuel. One person uses more energy than my entire family does in about 5 years. That's right. But I'm the problem. And this is kind of, you've probably faced this before as a Catholic. You've probably, if you're a big family guy, if you don't work for yourself already, I mean, you've probably met this kind of attitude in the workplace. This is a very centralized attitude. It's a me way of thinking. Not only is it centralized in the cities, but it's centralized in their head. It's all about me, me, me. It's what I can get out of life, and that's what they pass on to their children. That's why they only have 2 children, and their 2 children only between them only have 1, because it's all about what they can get out of life. It's not about multiplying and bringing forth fruit. It's about withering away and dying, kind of like the fig tree that our Lord cursed. So how is decentralization Catholic? Well, is it not more the way that God wanted us to live? To rise with the sun and go to bed with the dark, to not work at night, to work with nature, to produce, to to produce enough that you can share, to manage the land in a way that's not raping it, as say a corporation would do. Corporate America or corporate Canada would take possession of the land and rape its resources for profit. When the Catholic man or woman can take care of the land in a sustainable way, the way that God wanted us to use that land to produce for ourselves an income or a way of life or food or heat or whatever, but to do it in a sustainable way that you can continue to do that and your children can continue to do that after you're gone. To respect God's creation. Property rights is well known as being a Catholic idea. And what is property? Is it a house in the middle of an urban center? Well, yeah, it's technically property, but you can't do anything with it other than live in it. Property is something that makes you a free man. It makes you able to supply for yourself. And that's really kind of the steps I'm taking right now. And since I've lost my job, my wife and I have kind of decided this is the way forward now, to live off the land. To try and create an income and a way of life that I don't have to go to work anymore for somebody else. Now I can just do it for myself. And I've been working towards this for about 20 years now. And I probably could have been here a lot sooner if I hadn't made some stupid decisions in my past. But c'est la vie. So I encourage Catholics out there, if you have a way of obtaining property outside of the city somewhere, close to a mass center, where you can be in a parish out in the country with other Catholics. You know, because I think being in a community of like-minded individuals is important as well. So being with other Catholics of faith and truth of tradition will go a long way to helping you out too. There's always going to be a variety of skill sets in that type of environment, and you can always bring something to the table and be part of that community. I don't know what it's like to live in a city because I never have. I've worked in the city a lot and I just don't understand the concrete sea. I can't fathom getting up. Well, I've had to do it for years, getting up and going to a regular job every day and facing the pressures of gridlock traffic, long distance driving, fuel consumption for nothing, and just the stress of getting there and getting home every day was enough to drive a guy nuts. Now, things are so much better. I encourage you to at least take a look and see what land prices are right now. I don't think they're going to get any better over the years, and you know, maybe a strategy for you if you can't afford to buy land is to team up with other Catholics. Maybe you can buy a decently large tract of land and subdivide it so you each have a piece. Or maybe you can make friends with a Catholic that lives out in the country and you can learn something about it. You can come out on the weekend and learn how to do different things on the land and get a sense of what it's like. Maybe that'll inspire you. But I think decentralization is the kind of part of the answer of bringing back the social kingship of Christ. I'm not saying it can't be done in the cities, but I think with the way things are going with the rich buying up fertile land all over the US and Canada. Corporate farming is kind of starting to take over. And that's worrisome, because what does corporate farming do? Sure, they might have huge tracts of land and produce huge amounts of food every year. Well, not necessarily. They only do it if it meets the bottom line. If the price isn't going to be there for them for their corn that year, they're just going to leave the land fallow. That could be millions of acres of fallow land. If the price of corn isn't there as food for them, it might be easier to send it off to make ethanol. Well, that's not food. So we've got this problem of corporate farming kind of using the land as kind of a way to hedge their investments, their funds, their money, and not as a way of really actually producing anything. Because, you know, if we really were running out of farmland to feed our population, you wouldn't leave millions of acres fallow, because it's not going to be profitable for you that year. Now, the land belongs in the hands of people. It doesn't belong in the hands of Bill Gates or Ted Turner or anybody like that. These computer geeks, you know, they should maybe they should get out there in the land, get their hands in the soil a bit, and figure out what it's about. I don't know, it's a frustrating subject for me. I know a lot of you out there are probably not going to be able to feasibly do this anytime soon, but I encourage you to look into it. Please do so. I think it's partially important, at least, to reestablishing some kind of Catholic culture in our countries, at least in our local regions. So hopefully with that thought I can maybe spark an idea, help you out in some way. If you have any questions, please drop a comment below. I'll see if I can help you out. I would really like to see more Catholics coming back to the land. It's not my call, obviously, but I just think it's really important. Catholic Northman, out.